Only a few weeks are left before we adjourn sine die in the 89th Texas legislature, and our elected officials are working hard on critical legislation for a stronger, more prosperous Texas. With so many bills in the legislative process and looking to make an impact, we invite legislators to TPPF to discuss their priority legislation and what it means for Texans. Texas lawmakers are proposing legislation to stop non-citizens from voting in our elections. One bill aims to require proof of citizenship to register to vote. So let's dive in. This is the layout. I'm Jose Melendez, Campaign Director of TPPF's Taxpayer Protection Project. Today we're discussing Senate Bill 16 with Senator Bryan Hughes from Senate District 1. Chairman Hughes, welcome to the layout.
Thanks for having me on.
So Senate Bill 16, it requires proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. So far, 15 states have explicitly done this. They've strictly said non-citizens can't vote in our elections. Tell us why Texas should join this list and what the problem is that we're trying to solve here.
So many states, like Texas, require citizenship to vote, but how do we verify? How do we prove that? Texas will be leading the country with this bill that says let's verify citizenship at the proof of registration point right there. The feds have limited our ability to do this, but Senate Bill 16 gives us a way to do it.
So walk us through this bill for a moment and just shine a light on how it would work.
So when one registers to vote in Texas, it would be necessary to prove citizenship. Now, the good news for most Texans is if you have a driver license, you've already done this. Since 2008 in Texas, to get a driver license, you have to show proof of your immigration status. So folks who have a driver license won't have to dig out their birth certificate or passport. They've already done this. For folks who are not in the system already, the state will make an effort to verify their citizenship. And if we cannot, we'll ask the folks, do you have proof of citizenship? If they do not, they'll be registered in the federal system. They can still vote in federal elections, but for state elections, we're going to get that proof of citizenship from them before we register them to vote for state elections.
So let's say this bill is passed into law, it's implemented. How are everyday Texans going to feel this bill?
Elections will be more secure. Texans will be more confident that people voting in our elections are U.S. citizens. As you know, U.S. citizenship is a privilege. It's a wonderful thing that we're blessed to have, and only U.S. citizens get to vote in U.S. elections. That's what this is about.
So some folks would say that this is a solution to a non-existent problem. Like, where is this widespread voter fraud happening? How do you respond to those folks?
You know, the left's arguments have evolved over time. They used to say there's no evidence of voter fraud. When we showed them evidence of voter fraud, then they said, well, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. And our question to them has been, how much fraud is too much? Just last week, you saw where county officials, elected officials in Frio County, were indicted for cheating, for election fraud. And every time we clean up our voter rolls, we find non-citizens on the voter rolls. This is a real problem.
And lastly, what kind of feedback have you received from, maybe constituents or Texans across our great state?
It's been very positive. Folks understand fundamentally that Texas elections are for U.S. citizens. It's a common sense, and it's consistent with our goal of making it easy to vote and hard to cheat. That's what this is about.
Excellent. Well, Chairman Hughes, thank you for joining us on the layout.
Thanks for having me.